This is the latest disclosure in a report from National Civil Defense Headquarters in Washington. It has been established that persons who have recently died have been returning to life.
Welcome to Dead Radio.
We're not doing that.
How did she come to have sex with a dead man?
Don't call me Radio Unit 91.
You're a dead man. You're a dead man!
He's God here in this radio station.
Place where the dead speak.
Rebel Radio!
I'm a fake? Yes. How'd you like to be dead?
You ever think about doing radio?
My team is dead!
But you're not crazy. You're me. And this is just radio.
By the powers vested in me by the Federal Communications Commission, I command you to get on the microphone in a serious manner and continue this broadcast.
All right.
Tonight. What?
Mark it down.
Not yet. Not till the end of the episode. We talked about this last week.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah. So for those who haven't listened, we're seeing how many weeks Ryan's computer can go without fucking up. And he's at 50% right now. So if we ended the competition now, I would be 100% right.
I know.
Yeah.
I get it.
But
All
are
that
there really
percentages.
people out there who haven't listened?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I mean, maybe not out there, but in here for sure.
Okay, fine. Maybe 1 out of 3.
Yeah.
1 out of 3.
Yeah, there's how many people are in the world? 7 billion?
Something like that.
It's pretty much 7 billion people haven't listened to this show. I mean, if you want to round to an even number.
Okay.
It would actually be, 6,999,999,998
take the rest
people
of the show.
Yeah.
who haven't listened to the show.
I'm pretty proud of you for getting there and not messing it up. I mean, but that also means that only 2 people listen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not one of them.
It's
Pretty
at
much
least-
everyone tuned
it's
out
at
while you
least
were going there.
17.
Whoa.
You all right?
Sorry, yeah, my chair is just a mess
All right,
now.
he's cut off.
Yeah, well, I just took some cold medicine before this, so strap in. This weather in in the Hudson Valley, it's terrible for
Don't blame the
terrible for
weather. Do
disease.
not blame the weather.
Well, it's not the weather; it's just the valley in general. The
I blame the
allergies and all that. It's
Bad hair days, loads of them.
Yes,
You
it's
get
a nightmare.
14 good hair days in the Hudson Valley, and they're not even consecutive.
Well, for me, every day's a good hair day.
It totally is. I can see that.
All right, so kids, welcome back for another edition of the Dead Radio Podcast. We're here with Carrie Jones Ross, Food Security Development Manager of, is it HVADC?
Yep.
.org?
Yep. Well, it's Hudson Valley Agribusiness Development Corporation.
Mm-hmm.
And I am Food Security Development Manager with them. That is your dog.
Sorry.
Just
sounds
flinging
like
random stuff around
Yeah.
the
I thought he
studio.
knocked something over.
It sounded like he
He
knocked
did.
over a guitar. That's what I thought.
And I am the program administrator for Feed HV, which is a food rescue network.
Mm-hmm. Feedhv.org.
Correct.
Yes. So you met... Wait, did you met Adam at
I believe
Crafty
you just
Club.
asked me what the Dead Radio podcast was, right?
Yeah, because you had a
Yeah.
cool sticker, man. A very
Yeah.
cool sticker,
I
which is
think I was-
now on my son's computer.
Cool.
very good.
Just take some more.
No,
Put 'em on your computer.
it's on my cooler. That's where I put it,
Ah.
which is even better than.
To clarify, if anybody was confused, because I thought you literally just asked what the Dead Radio podcast was, and I
did.
got scared. But
Oh,
you're
No,
talking
I
about when
think-
you
I
first
think
came into the
You were in the
coffee
shop. I was probably wearing one of these shirts.
Yeah,
And you
were
asked
wearing
about
a shirt,
it.
and I saw
gave you
this
a sticker.
and I was like, oh, I
Yeah.
like that because I like
Yeah.
the logo.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
designed it. It's also tattooed on me and him.
Yeah, you said that. Yeah. Oh, check you guys out with your matching bro
he
tattoos.
hides it. He's
I
not
love
proud of
it.
Adorable.
Aw.
So yeah, we
Getting
by happenstance happened to know somebody that you work with, a friend of ours from.
Don't
haven't
call
talked
her.
to her in a
Don't
while.
call her out.
I'm not gonna.
She would not like that.
No. And yeah, you guys do some pretty interesting things. When the biggest thing is the I don't know, it's all really huge. You're basically I wrote it down just to make sure I get it.
Smart.
You link food donor or the Feed HV. links food donors of prepared but unserved food to nonprofit organizations such as food pantries and shelters and so on and so forth through the efforts of volunteers. So it's a volunteer, based organization.
Yeah.
So that's huge, because with the amount of you always just working in the food service industry for the small amount of time that I've been in it, it's amazing the waste.
Incredible, right?
Yeah. And
40% of food is wasted.
And we do,
it's outrageous.
at the coffee shop, we do our absolute best. We're constantly adjusting what we get when we get it, so that we don't have to throw out anything. But it's inevitable for any kind of food service business. So this is a big deal. Just keeping down on waste and
feeding people with it.
Yeah.
I mean, we live in the Hudson Valley. We can grow so many different types of things. And this program is funded by what's called the Farm Fresh Initiative. So we have a strong emphasis on recovering as much Hudson Valley grown, Hudson Valley sourced product as possible. There's really no need in this area, or in any area, but particularly this area, that anyone shouldn't have access to food, because there's a huge abundance. Yeah. So my title is Food Security Development Manager. I wanted to talk to you about what food security is and what food rescue is. Food security, as it's defined by the United Nations Committee on World Food Security, is the condition in which all people at all times have physical, social, and economic access to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food that meets their dietary needs, and that's an important aspect of this, and food preferences for an active and healthy life. And the reason that's important is because people with lower incomes, if they don't have access to healthy food, then the food is going to be a part of the problem, not part of their solution.
Right.
So
because it causes health problems and all kinds of stuff.
Well,
and then that's just, and especially if they're lower income, they might not have insurance, and then that's just going on the taxpayer.
Yeah, it's just this weird snowball. It's a weird snowball effect,
It is.
And it becomes a cycle too. At the same time.
Yep. So food needs to be part of the solution. It needs to be healing. It needs to not be a poison to a person.
Right.
So why food needs to be rescued? What in the heck is a food rescue? See, I can't curse on the air. So
Well, you can't.
no, I can't. Y'all can. I'm from northern New Jersey. I'm like it's my mother tongue. Okay, right? So
I was just thinking the other day. We were doing. I had a meeting with somebody, and I dropped an F-bomb on him, and I in my head I went, shouldn't have done that, and the guy just reciprocated it. So I was like,
we
good.
speak the same language.
I felt really good about that.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Look, like when you travel, you go down south and you talk like that, they're appalled.
Oh yeah.
They're like, oh my God, did you hear what that woman said?
But it's funny because we look at it as it's like friendly.
Yeah, it's like a
friendly talk.
bonding thing,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah, totally. All right, so
I'm gonna draw one out of you. I'm gonna try and.
I promised. I gave my Girl Scout promise. So why does food need to be rescued? What
Sorry.
happened?
What
What are you doing, Adam? Dear God, stick with the
My
program.
computer is muted.
One program at a time, bro. Why does food need to be rescued? Edible food that would have otherwise gone to waste from restaurants, grocers, other food establishments. So it is bruised fruit with pitted skin, surface blemishes, overgrown vegetables, catering leftovers, food near suggested expiration codes. That's a whole conundrum right there, the whole expiration thing.
How much do you know about the food expiration date?
I know a lot about it. I have a bunch of info about it. I'm not endorsing this, but this is what we like to say is use the sniff test. If it doesn't smell right, toss it. It's bacteria that you're afraid of. But, the USDA has their suggestions, but they're suggestions. Use some common sense. I know we hate that in this country, but...
Yeah, that, and you have to figure that the sell-by date is factoring in 2 or 3 days in the person's fridge.
Yeah.
So just if you buy stuff the day after the sell-by date, throw it in the freezer until you're ready to eat it, and it's fine.
Right. You could.
That's what I mean. shout out to My Market in Poughkeepsie. That's what
Yeah.
they do.
I visited them.
Yeah,
My
everything.
Market rules.
Yeah,
Mm.
everything that it gets to that expiration date, the day of the expiration date, they throw it in the freezer, take 50% off,
Half
and
off.
you can get grass-fed ground beef
Yep.
Really?
for cheaper than regular stuff.
Yep.
On it.
Half off.
Yeah.
Black Angus sirloin.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's like
That's smart.
$3.90.
And
it's like
chances are they're
$3 a
still
pound.
recouping. They're probably still recouping their costs plus a little bit more. So
They'd
it's just a
normally
smart
be
thing to
throwing
do.
it out.
Well,
Yeah.
let's hope they are. They're little,
Yeah.
they're little
Yeah.
guys. I'm always rooting
Yeah.
for the little guys. Yeah. So that's what food rescue is. So we're not looking for stuff that's like 10%, 15% gone. That's all right. We could cull it. But anything more than that, that's just, compost. Pig food, which is fine too. That's like on the EPA scale of food,
Yeah.
but it's lower down.
Still has
'Cause
a use. Shouldn't go in the
it
garbage.
has a use, and it needs to. It's still the EPA wants all of it recovered. Like we should be recovering all of that and repurposing it somehow. So we're not going to talk about my paper cup.
Oh,
here,
we're
by the way.
going to.
Don't I? Don't I
Not
sound
because
like
it's a
some
paper cup.
environmental evangelist? Right?
It's not because it's a paper cup, but we'll circle
The
back to why
contents,
we're
the
going to talk about
contents.
it.
We
Now
actually,
you're all right.
We
So-
actually have we compost all of our like vegetable nubs and whatever goes bad and everything for our house, and then we have planters out front or out back, and it's kind of like we did it last year when we only got a handful of vegetables. We composted it, and then this year we mixed it all in, and now we have too many vegetables. So now we're composting even more. So it's just like
Yeah.
whole.
It gets out of
we gotta
control
find a
really quick.
balance here.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm-
like farms suffer that. Like that is such a common scenario.
Yeah.
Like this, it just so happens. So Feed HV happens to be placed with HVADC, which is Hudson Valley Agribusiness. That's the reason HVADC hosts this program is because we have very robust relationships with farms, with chefs, and we also have the same regional footprint as this program. This program actually covers 7 counties. So it covers Sullivan, Dutchess, Putnam, Orange, Ulster, Greene. I feel like I'm missing a county. Columbia County. Did I say 7? So
sounds like it.
yeah,
Sure.
I was like, "There's that many counties.
There's that many counties in this whole state." Yeah, so there are apparently that many counties.
So you're basically like you're the one linking everybody together.
That's the
your
goal.
job.
That's the goal.
Okay.
Yeah. We're like connectors.
Right.
Yeah. So, but farms so it just so happens this season, last season, bumper crops all around for the farms, right?
Define.
Bumper crop is like a big fat explosion of produce, of fruit or
Best case
vegetables.
scenario.
So that's totally right. So they're like their farms are overproducing, like they've got an abundance, right? This season, between all the rains and then all the heat, like and what happens following a bumper crop season is a lot less production from the plants. So this has not been a great harvest season for farms, for our Hudson Valley farms. I've been hearing a lot of reports of for tomatoes. It's called fire blight. Fire blight. You know what that is?
Yeah, that happened to me last year.
Yeah. So it's getting like literally, it's like a tomato being baked on the vine by the sun.
Our tomatoes exploded.
Yeah.
There were so many, and then they kind of got stunted a little bit and they were starting to burn.
Yes.
So my wife stopped, she thought they were getting overwatered, and that was a case too. So she stopped watering. It kind of like slowed down them getting beat up too bad.
Yeah.
I got a heirloom orange tomato that's, it's big as a small Nerf ball, like a Nerf ball, Nerf football. It's incredible. I have so many tomatoes, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But all the other stuff, not so great.
Yeah.
The
for
beans,
sure.
the turnips.
Beans,
and, beets and soybeans and all kinds of little other things like that. Peppers started to grow and then just stopped. And then they just didn't budge for a while. And now they're like back up again. It's weird how it just goes like that.
So what's happening is, because of the crops are not as robust as they were last year, so we're not having as much donations flowing through the Hudson Valley as we did last year, and also it affects our economy in that it affects the local agrarian economy in that farms are not able to offer their product at reduced prices. Like, people are always trying to get farm product at reduced prices. They're not really able to get super competitive. So where that plays out, for example, like we at HVADC, we work on a farm to school initiative with Poughkeepsie Farm Project, Poughkeepsie School District, Wappinger Central School District. And I'm hearing from a lot of farms, they're not going to be able to bid on produce this season because they can't get their prices to be competitive enough for the schools, which is such a shame, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Totally shame.
Especially around
When
here.
we went to high school, there were no vegetables in schools.
Nope.
Right.
Not one ever.
You got those awesome
Yeah.
like graham cracker peanut butter chocolate
Yeah.
things though. Those
Yeah,
were fucking
it was
my
mac
God,
and
I love
cheese and pizza and
Every Friday.
Yeah, just
fried chicken. You get
Yeah,
you get
fried
the thing
chicken.
of fried chicken, and you get a Mountain Dew that we brought
Yeah.
in ourselves.
there was no vegetables in
Nothing
school.
added to
Yeah,
the
I
Mountain
mean maybe you had the option for broccoli, and I think I think they had to have a vegetarian option every day, but it was like veggie lasagna. Yeah.
I always dug vegetable lasagna offering.
Yeah,
Unless
but I
it's
mean,
mushroom heavy. Then
but it was definitely like from a frozen like
Yeah.
box, and
Yeah.
And
that was just my 2 cents about it. I wish we had vegetables in
And there's
school.
been
Maybe
tons
I'd
of
be a healthier person now.
Well, there's also been tons of studies in the past, I would say past 10 years maybe that have shown that kids are getting fresh vegetables and prepared meals instead of the prepackaged
Well, yeah,
stuff.
it's something
They're
like nowadays parents are sending their kids to school with lunch because they don't trust
Yeah.
the lunch at school.
Well, because the lunch at school sucks. That's
Yeah.
why.
That's what I'm saying.
I have
like
3
if
kids.
Yeah.
I mean, it's disgusting. The lunch
There's
at
these
school.
fringe schools that are saying like, yeah, we make our peas and carrots and we make all this stuff here and we serve it to them at lunch. We start working on it and it's served, and they find more energy and better production out of the children because they're not like getting bogged down by just carbs and sugar.
Yeah. And
Carbs-
crashing.
yeah.
I know I crash. I mean, why wouldn't kids crash? So
Going just real quick, I don't want to like keep stopping you, but I like some of this.
it's a fun
You're
topic.
talking about when you're talking about the production of the produce and getting it to local restaurants, for instance. I'm always going to go to restaurants because specifically because when I go to a restaurant and it's it's not a chain restaurant, or even if it is a chain restaurant, there's some that do this, but when it says on their menu they use locally sourced produce
Yeah.
and locally sourced meats and everything like that. That's a big plus for me.
Right?
That makes me want to come back, and I think that's the
and pay a premium.
and pay premium
and not mind paying the few extra bucks, right? Yeah.
right.
Agree.
So not having the produce available for them to make prices that are competitive and they can get people in the doors, that causes a problem. And especially around here, we found when we did the Creator Fest last year, Hudson Valley Creator Fest, when people see that, oh, it's local, this is made here, they're more inclined to just to buy it. Even if they weren't planning on buying something, like, well, shit, I'm just gonna, I'll spend $6 on a bar of soap.
Would you ever go into CVS and spend $6 on a bar of soap?
Hell no.
No.
Nope.
Nope, I wouldn't.
Yeah. And I've paid $12 for a bar of soap
Well,
because
I-
I was
in the
like,
health
this
food
smells
store,
really
I've-
good, and I'm very excited to use it.
Sandalwood.
Yeah.
I like sandalwood.
Oh, you'd love the Dead Radio soap that we
There's
made.
more.
Well,
more
I would love Dead Radio.
There's
soap.
more
My God,
coming.
Of course I would.
It was in such high demand we were out of stock.
Oh, it's a
Yeah,
limited
but
line.
there's
Gotcha.
more coming. Ryan made it himself.
Yeah,
High demand.
it's got bourbon, sandalwood, and what was the other one? Amber.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
That was
Yeah.
wonderful.
Oh, that's really
It's a
nice.
wonderful combination.
So I want to tell you how the program works, and then I want to tell you, I want to go into how it's where we get to focus on farm food because it's so cool, and I think most people don't get to know about this, and it's so cool that this whole world is going on. So basically, how the software works is this: it's donor driven. So a donor, like Crafted Cup, would log in and say, hey, I have a donation of 3. We do take prepared foods. We take all different kinds of food, but 3 boxes of carrots. And our software automatically, and the donor sets their desired geographic preference for where they want the donation to go. So even though this is a regional program, it's local. It can be hyper local. You could say 15 miles, 30 miles, whatevs, right? So the software then matches your donation to an agency that has already said they can accept that type of donation, that quantity of donation, 3 boxes they can handle, and the hours are compatible because pantries and soup kitchens, they have really difficult hours. They could be like open once a month for an hour and a half. And that's a humdinger for donors. That's where the donation so often dies on the vine. They don't have the bandwidth to sit there with their donation and make a call. Are you open? Can you take this? Do you have someone to come pick it up? No, they don't. It's done. They're going to toss it. So then once that match is made, it takes a second. An email blast goes out to our network of volunteers. We have over 130. And the volunteers also set their desired geographic parameters where they're willing to drive. So volunteers in that region will get an email that says, hey, food needs to get from A to B. And somebody says, I'm going to be in Poughkeepsie in that time. I could run that over to Duchess Outreach. And they claim the food run. So it's less than an hour of a volunteer's time, totally low commitment. Perfect for you millennials. Like, really. But so if you can't do it, you ignore it. We have some regular food.
It.
We embrace it, dude.
No, they changed it. We're something different. Zennials. Yeah. We're Zennials because we are within 5 years of being born of the cusp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys are like the Uber of food rescue.
I say that all the time.
You can write that one down.
I say that all the time. They won't let me put on our
FooUber,
marketing material.
FooUber.
Oh my God, that's great. So
write FooUber, if you will. It's better. It's
Please
better.
do. Please
and put the umlaut thingy over the.
Yes,
over
umlauts
the,
are the. Yeah. So the really cool thing that aspect of this this is where I think people don't really know much about. It's called, because we don't just do food transportation like this. We also do. We also have in our network, who we partner very closely with, agencies in this area that do gleaning and processing. Do you know what gleaning is?
You kept
cool.
using that word throughout your web
gleaning
pages.
would be pulling the good from the bad.
Gleaning, that's culling.
Culling. Okay.
That's culling. So gleaning is harvesting. It's a throwback to the most oldest it's a biblical concept from the Old Testament where people were commanded to landowners were commanded to leave some of the fruit and food on the trees and on the vines for the poor and the hungry.
I've heard about this. Yeah, okay.
Right?
Okay.
So gleaning, what in 2018, we have organizations, volunteer-based organizations that will go to a farm because farms don't really want people just roaming around picking food and eating it. But we have volunteer organizations that will go to farms and harvest it, and then those donations then go out to pantries, and an awesome example of and also processing it. So Ulster Corps in Ulster County, in Dutchess County, we have Ulster Corps will go into Dutchess County, Second Chance Food Rescues. They go to restaurants, they do all different types of rescue, but they also process it into soups, stews, and then the soups and stews, sauces, those go out to pantries and soup kitchens. So you know how like we were just talking about these bumper crops. Right. How in the heck are pantries going to turn around 400 million tomato donations, right? People are only going to walk out with so many tomatoes. Mm-hmm. So we saw that as an issue, and the solution to that is processing it. So it turns into tomato sauce. It gets frozen, whatever, and then it's available. Hudson Valley grown product with all of its nutrition is available in the winter months to the pantries.
Oh, that's great.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah. That's great.
So an example in Milton was, and Cornell Cooperative Extension in Orange County, they do a mega load of it. So in the spring is when the farmers are cleaning out their coolers. And in Milton, 2 neighboring farms called me and said, take this out of the cooler. It's 1,900 pounds of apples. Take it out. We're tossing it into the bog if you don't come and get it. So Ulster Corps went, got it. They culled it. They culled out what was good, and 600 pounds went to the pantries. Stuff that was going to go into the bog, literally, because I know these farmers, right? So then what happened with the rest is that it couldn't really be, it wasn't edible, was not in great edible condition. So they processed it into 300 quarts of applesauce, and I think it was like, 1,400 pounds got processed into 300 quarts of applesauce. And that applesauce went out to the food pantries and soup kitchens. Apples that were going to get tossed.
Yep.
And now we've got something much more nutritious alternative to Mott's applesauce, and that's Food Rescue.
And what about nubs?
What are nubs?
Apple cores, broccoli nubs, stuff like that. Because if you're processing all that, you're going to have
that
leftovers.
just gets processed in.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, that just gets processed in.
Oh, all right, fine.
Yeah, I don't think that they...
waste not, want not.
Yeah, there's no... I mean, I don't know when I make applesauce, I don't core it.
I don't make applesauce.
Oh.
I hate applesauce. I love apples. Hate applesauce.
I mean, the only time I've
I
ever
don't even
liked
drink apple
applesauce
juice.
was when I made it myself.
You guys are such weirdos.
I make a mean apple pie.
I like pear sauce.
Apple, what's the
Pear
other one?
sauce.
Apple crumble.
Crumble?
Like a baked Betty.
Yeah,
Apple
that
Betty.
thing. What? I can't.
I feel like it's just
I'm
apple
blanking on the
crumble.
word.
I don't know.
Whatever.
I don't know what to tell
Crisp.
you.
Apple crisp.
There
Apple
you go.
crisp. You nailed it.
Good job.
Well done.
Good job for
Well
thinking
done.
of one word.
Yeah.
Dug that out
You
of there.
should be proud.
So, and to circle back for a minute and to go back to this rant for a minute about like eating local in the schools. We live in Marlboro, right? My family and we live in Marlboro. Why my kids are sitting in a classroom looking out at their like all of the kids in our town are looking out at trees, apple trees, eating apples from China. It's inexcusable. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's their parents' trees, even, you know? And they're still in the school eating apples from China.
I think
Go
that
figure.
a lot of that comes down to, and a lot of people don't have this option, but like for me, it's going to be voting with my dollars and sending my kids to school with a lunch that's going to be nutritious and healthy and something, and probably cheaper than a lunch program, to be honest. If you make everything from scratch, you know, I get a lot of crap from some people about like, how do you shop at Adams? How can you afford that? Because I make everything from scratch.
Yeah.
You know,
if you're buying vegetables,
like, yeah, sure, my meat sometimes costs $13.99 a pound, but I'm making everything from scratch. So yeah, you're comparing your Stop and Shop steak to my Adams steak, which is grass fed or at least grass finished.
Totally.
To those two, yeah, there's a big difference there, but there's a big difference in quality, and I make that up by not buying frozen broccoli that's already all pre-seasoned and buttered and filled with sugar for some reason.
Right?
And then you just put it in the microwave for 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Or you can just get grass-fed butter, which is better.
Yep.
Buy all your spices, which are better, and then buy fresh broccoli, which is better, and it's 10 cents on the dollar for what you're paying for your processed food.
Yeah.
Adam is the MVP of tonight's podcast.
Oh.
So
he does the same thing.
Strap in.
Right
he's
on,
just not
guys.
he's just not as eloquent.
Yeah. Right.
He does the same.
I usually go,
you know
like what,
like because I'm the same way. Like I'm in like that food systems, you know, kind of mentality. And where I know where my savings are in, because I eat the same way. My savings are in my co-pays because I don't have to. It's in my health. I don't have to go to the doctor as much. Like I have a lot of health problems, and I know that I can restore my health, and I can really help my health by eating like that. And I know that I can really do myself in if I don't eat like that. You know, so if you wonder where, you know, you're getting the budget from, geez, pull it from your the fact that you're going to be paying copays for medications, blood pressure medications, diabetes medications, acid reflux medications, and all that stuff, right? Because that's what comes with craft.
Well, I have all those
processed
things
food.
because I drink.
It's also smart shopping,
Right
though.
on.
I go to Adams for vegetables and like the occasional, you know, this and that. I'm not going there for, you know, detergent.
Yeah, don't go there for detergent. Don't go. I mean, you should.
I'm
if
not
you
going
want,
to say don't go there for detergent because I'm not going to badmouth Adams at all.
If you
go there
eat-
for detergent.
if you
Give the
eat
little guy some
pasta,
money.
If you eat pasta, if you eat Barilla pasta, you can buy Barilla pasta at Adams, and it's $1 more.
Yeah.
But why the hell are you buying that when right next to it for the same price is some ridiculously awesome, like freshly made Italian, like really high-end brand with some sort of heirloom, you know, grain. It's imported from Italy, and it's the same price as the Barilla, but it's only $1 more than the ShopRite Barilla. You know, it doesn't make any sense. So
Not to
it's
be a
just,
condescending foodie, but I'm all about the zoodle.
The zoodle? What is that?
Zoodle.
What?
I don't know what a zoodle is.
It's the zucchini noodles.
Oh, I like those too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been trying.
I've been
really
I do
trying to
the
do. I've been really trying to do ketogenic diet lately,
Mm.
which I've talked about a bunch in the show, so I won't get into it. And it really works for me. It helps my inflammation. I lost a lot of weight. So, but yeah, zucchini noodles are great.
Aren't they awesome? I'm doing
Yeah.
autoimmune paleo, so
Yeah.
it's very similar.
Very similar.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's just more vegetables, less fat. Something like that. The autoimmune paleo.
Yeah, well, I mean, no
Yeah.
nightshades. We're talking about tomatoes.
Oh,
and
my
stuff.
wife. My wife has fructose malabsorption, so she has to stay away from all kinds of like fruits and nightshade vegetables and eggplants and things of that nature. So it's sounds
Yeah.
similar,
The
very similar.
nightshades, the dreaded nightshades.
Yeah, but the zucchini noodles are nice. You can get. Have you gotten the spiraler
Oh,
thing?
yeah.
Yeah.
I was
$20
an early
at Big
adapter
Lots.
to
Yeah.
that. So all right, so now I am
Can't
gonna
eat zucchini. So,
So
that's
like
Oh, yeah?
the
You can
one that
do it
I
with a
bought
bunch of
was
stuff.
called the Vegetti, right? And my friends and I from
need to
my
change the
last
name of
job,
that.
exactly. So my friends and I from our last job, we
Sounds
all
like a
bought
racist
it,
Italian
right?
person.
And
Or
we
You
were,
know Tom Vegetti? He's a fucking asshole.
we were so embarrassed to say it in public that we had to give it a different name.
Yeah.
We're like, we can't really call it. We can't really sit and talk about Vegetti recipes in public. There's no way.
I'm gonna
Be
write
careful with
down.
that E too.
Right?
Sounds too much like an A.
Yeah, we'll put an E.
Did you guys get that
We'll do
Vagetti?
two.
The Vegetti. so now we're to talk about what is going on in this neck of the woods. I want to give you guys some statistics about and some comparison statistics that came out of SUNY New Paltz's Benjamin Center, which has done some regional studies on hunger. You know, there's not a lot. New York State has some statistics. Obviously, there's national statistics. There is like not a lot of regional statistics on hunger. So this information is precious. And
I mean, so the statistics for, say, New York State on homelessness could be just taken from New York City? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying that those are state statistics. Whereas the statistics that I want to talk
I
about
understand.
are
Okay.
regional. Like I have
understand.
like, for example, Dutchess, Orange, Putnam, Ulster. So to take these counties, to line them up and talk about what's happening in the counties, you know, versus New York State as a whole or versus the nation as a whole.
Right.
So you're saying like if they went like a state study, let's say it's 10,000 people asked. They'll ask, you know, let's say 100 and however many counties there are, they'll ask a percentage of that from each county, and then it's going to average over the whole state.
Yeah,
So it'll be a good
It's a
study for the whole
complicated-
state, but it's not applicable to each individual county.
Right. So, yeah, because Sullivan County is very poor.
Yeah.
Putnam County has a lot more wealth, you know.
Shots
so,
fired.
So, yeah.
That's just the truth.
Take it. Take
Yeah.
it. It's okay. You know, check your privilege. So, reduced and free lunches in our schools in Dutchess County. Over 4 in 10 students in Orange and Ulster counties qualify for free or reduced lunches. So in Dutchess County, you've got 28% of kids who are qualifying for reduced and free lunches. In Orange, free lunches 28% in Dutchess. That's reduced. Yeah, that's free. And then reduced lunches are 6%. And then in Orange County, you've got 41% of kids qualifying for free and reduced lunches. 41%.
Do you know what the parameters are of that? I mean, it's got to be household income.
It's
right?
household income,
Yeah.
based
So
solely
it's
on household
probably-
income.
It's probably based on the poverty line, I would
It's
imagine.
based on the
Yeah.
poverty line, yep. And the amount of kids in your household, the amount of people in your household. Putnam County, not surprisingly, 16% are free and reduced lunches. Ulster County, 43%. Ulster County has even more than Orange County, more than Dutchess County, because we have a lot of rural areas. We have a lot of very low-income, poor rural areas.
The thing that I find the most interesting about that is that 16%, whatever it was. If you could go back to the last slide, I know people can't see it at home, but looking at Dutchess, so it's 28% qualify for free and only 6% qualify for reduced, bringing the total to 34%. That really shows how big the income gap is.
Yeah.
Because it should at least be even.
Right.
If the income gap was a ramp,
sure. Yeah.
That's
instead
a very
of
good point.
a full like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Instead of
because you're going because that 34% right past that clicks up to middle class.
Yeah.
And who are we talking?
Yeah.
We're going to talk in a second about who we're talking about because it surprises people. So in our region, we say that in Dutchess County, 9.7% of the population here are food insecure. So that's just under 1 in every 10 people. Under 1 in 10.
Food insecure.
Food
meaning-
insecure, like the definition that I gave you in the beginning of the program about access to food. So there's a couple different things that play into that. So the and this study was from 2016, I think, or 2015.
So that's pretty fresh.
Yeah, and right now Benjamin Center is working on even more. They're doing an even broader field study. So within the next year, we're going to have even more numbers, updated numbers. So in Dutchess County, as of this study, 28,830 people were food insecure.
Wow.
And that is compared to Orange County, which was 9.3% with 34,000 because it's a larger county. Putnam County, 5.5%. Ulster County tops out at 10.8% with of people who are food insecure. So that's like 1 in every 9 almost.
So do you know how they survey this? Is it like just a large sample size and they do averages?
They
go.
they
Statistics
do literally
101.
field studies. They use SNAP numbers and school lunch numbers because those are good barometers, but those don't tell the full story.
They definitely
and
don't.
what they
That's
also
why I was
examine
asking.
in that is there's a lot of people who don't receive benefits and they need to be counted in.
Which is what I wanted to talk about because at 32, I went back to school. Yeah, 31, 32. I had ended a relationship. I was in an impasse. I had to afford my own home by myself, decided to go back to school. I was making $0 for 2 years. I was living off of student loans. So while waiting for those student loan payments, I was like looking for change in the couch to buy a dozen eggs.
Yeah.
So I didn't qualify for SNAP benefits because I didn't work a minimum number of hours a week, and I couldn't get, maybe it was, I don't remember exactly which program it was, but it is basically whatever food stamps are now. I didn't qualify for it because I didn't work a minimum amount of hours and because I was going to school.
Well, with the new farm bill coming up, you're not going to qualify because there is a minimum amount of hours that you have to work. So there's what's called, and this was just implemented last year or the year before, it's called ABOB, able-bodied adult without dependence. So that means an ABOB can get benefits for, I think, 9 months, and then they have to wait, I think, a year to be able to get benefits again. And part of that design was to redistribute where, because that's going to flush out people who were getting food stamps but not getting other services like mental health services that they need. I mean, it put a huge strain on the food pantry system because there are so many people that are not organized enough to go and get food stamps, or they're not legal and they cannot go get food stamps. There's a number of reasons people don't get food stamps.
And it only happened once, but I had to go to a food pantry and get canned food.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't afford to buy
And it's not
food.
delicious. That's
No,
what
it
drives
was like
me
SpaghettiOs
crazy.
and
It's
fucking
SpaghettiOs.
stuff like that.
So when people are like, they're fleecing the system, go to a food pantry, and there's no need or there's absolutely no command to fleece the food pantry system for what? A couple boxes of spaghetti? Anyone
that was
fleecing the food pantry system, that is part of what this whole what hunger and food insecurity looks like. People fleecing the system. That's what poverty does. It makes people have to be all shifty and Machiavellian over a box of freaking spaghetti.
Yeah,
You know?
and the thing is, like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, I'm seriously talking about $6 worth of stuff. Like, I had to ride my bike there.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have a car. So, and the thing is, it was just, and that's another whole separate argument with like the whole student loan setup that we have now. It's just like, so I got to wait till 6 weeks into the middle of the semester before I get my money that I'm supposed to be living off of.
Yeah. Dude, I
you know?
went to college full time. Like I just graduated 2 years ago from Marist, and I went full time while I was working full time. And I'm a single mom. It pushed me all the way to the very edges of my sanity. It was a frigging nightmare. A frigging nightmare.
Yeah.
And you know what? It did not pull me up. And you know that whole like belief, like, oh, pull yourself up by the bootstraps. Yeah, no. So
Yeah,
who
you
were
get
lucky. Most of it's just luck.
No,
and who
it's
you
like
know,
nepotism and who you know
Yeah.
and privilege and you're born into it and blah blah blah.
Just
I mean,
slide
everything
into things. There's-
thankfully kind of worked out. Like, I'm not starving to death right now, but I still have money problems. But it's like, I was happy that was there.
Yep.
You know, and I was happy that was able to pay the internet bill a month before so that I could Google one. You know,
I've been told, you know, I grew up, you know, totally fine, no issues with, you know, never wanting for anything. But I've spoken to people who grew up, but their parent was on welfare, and without that, they would have starved. They would have been out on the street. And that parent worked their ass off. They went to school. They got a degree. They got a good job, and everything worked out in the end. So, like the welfare system. I'm switching to welfare, I guess, a little bit here, but the systems where people are offered help, offered aid, there are people that abuse it. But are you going to take it away? But are you going to take it away?
Are you really living high on the hog?
No,
with $220 a month.
And dude, I have another narrative to that, which is there's people who are dirt poor and they work their asses off. And they don't get that good job,
right?
And that's that. And they just work their asses off their whole lives, and they don't make a lot of money. Who we serve? Who are our pantries serving here in the Hudson Valley? I was a chair of a soup kitchen for a long time. I was on the board of a soup kitchen for over a decade. A daily soup kitchen in Kingston.
A daily soup kitchen.
A daily soup
It's
kitchen.
a ton of work by volunteers. Yeah.
Yeah, all volunteers.
Okay.
We had no
Just
paid
wanted to
staff
make
except
that abundantly clear.
Yeah. So who are we? Who did I see every day? Elderly people, always seniors, particularly women whose husbands didn't have a pension for them. And so their husbands are dead and they're still alive and they don't have a pension for whatever reason. Children. Physically disabled. I've seen so many physically disabled people in pantries and soup kitchens. I've seen homemade prosthetics. I mean, it's insane. If just one little thing happens in their budget, they're screwed.
Hell yeah.
You know, mentally challenged and disabled people, you know, we're not everybody is as intact like you and I and like we all are. Not everybody's here. And there but for the grace of God go we, right? Unemployed, underemployed, the people who just have like a part-time job or whatever, maybe people with anxiety issues or maybe they can't hold down a full-time job for whatever reason. And their families. Those with chronic, this is near and dear to my heart, those with chronic health conditions or disease.
Sure.
And that is so common. And like I started these food bank farm stands and we would distribute a ton of produce, like pallets and pallets of produce for free. How many times I was handing food to someone who told me I had a car accident, or I got diagnosed with MS. And that's how it started. It was so much was autoimmune or I had a car accident. I had a bad back. I hurt my back at work. And they go from having a desk job or having a car accident to being online, getting handout for free, getting a food handout for free. Yep. And single parent households,
needing to budget every single penny to the number.
Yeah.
Yeah,
make sure that
I'm lucky that all of my money problems now are because I'm bad with money. Before it was just, it was I made some choices and I stuck with them, and I think that it was worth it to get through it. But a lot of people don't have that, and they don't have the safety blankets that I had.
No. That's another.
Yeah, the support network.
At that point, like when I went to that food pantry, and I seriously got like 2 days worth of food because I was like, I'm gonna get paid on Friday, it's gonna be fine. But I need to eat until then, and I'm not willing to call my father and ask him for $40.
Yeah, so pantries are really typically were designed to only supplement an emergency supply of food, which is 1 weekend worth of food. Yeah. So it's a 3-day food supply. Now we see more and more people who are at pantries getting their food from pantries as their main source. But what they're getting from pantries is what?
It's not healthy.
It's not healthy. It's spaghetti.
Terrible. I think
it's sauce,
I got SpaghettiOs. and there was like a can of green beans.
Oh,
and
I remember
there
those.
was so much ramen noodles there, and I was like, I can't eat that.
Ramen's like, you might as well.
It's like
I
eating
mean,
plastic.
Well,
like,
I
you
mean,
might as well
it's
not eat anything that's
calories
not true,
are calories. If you're doing it for a weekend,
but
that's
ramen,
fine. And
damn.
ramen's calorie dense, but I mean, it's deep fried rice noodles, so it's really bad for you.
Yeah, and no nutrients.
No, none whatsoever.
You're
but
better off
it'll keep you alive for a weekend, but long term,
You're not
going to
die if you don't eat for a weekend. By the way, you would just be
of
like
course.
fasting.
Yeah, but I had already been fasting at that point.
Beer fasts don't count. Adam.
No. I at that point I don't think I'd had a drink in like 2 weeks because of this.
Yeah.
But I mean that was one of those things like I need to get through this. I need to figure it. That was when I finally broke down and got a job at friggin' Starbucks. And then a whole bunch of other opportunities opened up, and it went fine. I wound up having like 3 jobs at that point, and it was doing well.
And what did you study, by the way? Where did you go, and what did you study?
I went back to Dutchess when I went back to school,
Right
and I got a degree in visual arts, concentration photography.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you know? I don't know about Dutchess Community College, but I know Ulster Community College has a food pantry, and because it's a community college, there are like when I was there visiting, there were people who would wander in there who were like autistic and couldn't even speak. They can't even articulate what they're in there for, what they're looking for. They're wandering in because they're hungry. They know there's food there. Community colleges are so different. So the director of this pantry, who I met on a retreat at the monastery, she told me that they don't see the same they'll see the same student, and it's a lot of adults, single moms, of course. They'll see the same students over and over in a semester, but won't see them again the next semester because the dropout rate is so high. They don't get to finish.
Oh, jeez.
I know. So, and SUNY Ulster also had like a clothing pantry, a professional clothing pantry, so people could get professional clothes, work clothes, and then they found that so many people just needed clothes that they extended it to just be a clothing pantry, and they just had clothes there. So. It's more. I mean, poverty is complicated. It's hunger is complicated.
Well, all of this, it's bigger picture stuff. There's there's all these working parts that create benefits or problems for things down the line, and it all trickles and cycles within each other. And you just have to take one thing at a time, and your focus has been food. You're obsessed with food.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, like, if I were going to throw money at anything, I would throw it at mental health services.
Sure.
That would clear out 3/4 of the room.
My wife works for the state for the Office of People with Developmental Disabilities, and it's and she's worked with New Horizons and other nonprofit organizations in the Hudson Valley, and it's heartbreaking. These people are just, they're stuck. Yeah. They're just stuck. Their family either doesn't want them or their family's gone.
Right.
And, they need help in some way.
And that's where our addiction issues are. Like, there's so many people in, using emergency feeding because of mental health issues, anxiety or some kind of depression, bipolar, whatever, that they're there for that reason, and they're not organized enough to get the help that they need. It's unfortunate. So,
how about we take a quick break?
Okay.
Because we're coming up on like 50 minutes. You came prepared. You're probably the most prepared guest we've ever had on the show, I would say.
Thank you, Ryan.
Even though you haven't watched the show, you're more prepared than people who watch the show.
Yeah.
I would say, right?
It's like a Dead Radio TED Talk.
Yeah.
So,
It's live radio now.
Once again, it's Carrie Jones Ross for feedhv.org. Or also the hvadc.org, the Hudson Valley Agribusiness Development Corporation. It's, they link food donors prepared but unserved food to nonprofit organizations all over the Hudson Valley, trying to knock down on the waste, or actually not knock the waste down, but use the waste for repurpose the waste. So, and it's a big deal, and especially around here, considering it's so there's so much farmland around here.
And not just farms, because we do corporate dining halls, caterers, restaurants, retailers, like we were talking about before. Yeah.
All right, so let's take a quick break. I'm going to play some music. See, and I'm using this thing, and it's very dangerous.
Why?
Because every time I use this, my computer, I risk getting a fail. So, all right,
where are we at? This puts us at week 6.
Yes, this would.
So even if you have a perfect record, it would be 3, 4, 5. It's still like a 30% failure rate.
I think we should extend it then.
No,
you
we
just
shouldn't.
maxing out that college degree, aren't you?
No, we decided on a date. I could have ended it at 50% and gone, I'm right.
Oh, look, Logan.
Because you were at 100% a minute ago. A few weeks ago, I guess. You failed 3 weeks in a row, and now you've passed 2 weeks in a row, and you're like, I've got this.
I'm riding high on my horse. All right, so real quick, regroup, come back. Enjoy Logan Callahan and friends and others.
She could The clothes that I wore that day only miss me if you're stupid. Let me be a collection of stories you'll always love.
Support for the Dead Radio podcast comes from The Crafted Cup, Poughkeepsie's premier coffee house at 44 Raymond Avenue in Poughkeepsie. Prime Print Shop at 747 Main Street in Poughkeepsie, serving the Hudson Valley's professional, municipal, and educational communities with full-service copies, plotting, scanning, and custom printing. And also, viewers like you. Underwriting support provided by Matt Kovich, Adam Merritt, Julia Farisi, Anthony Lavelle, and Track 7 Studios.
I'm Nick.
I'm Sean.
And I swear to God we have a drummer. We're Pitch Black Sunrise.
And this is Dead Radio Podcast.
Should we start a Deadpool for all the bands that have come on the show?
Well, I didn't get a chance to work on it today, but it's on the docket.
Mm-hmm.
A Dead Radio obituaries.
Yeah. But that we had talked about doing that for. Oh, you should apply that to the bands that.
Yeah, we can apply it to the bands too.
Yeah. Okay, I like that. I like that spin on it.
Yeah. Well,
but yeah, I think doing like a bracketed Dead Radio Deadpool of bands breaking up.
Yeah. We could just find a space on the wall. Yeah, sure.
And you wouldn't even have to do a date. You wouldn't even have to do a date. Just like people put $1 for whatever band.
All right. I kind of like it.
Or just do it by like 6-month period or something like that.
Yeah. See, that's and the thing, like, we're sending all this bad juju toward Pitch Black because we played their bumper. But
we're just fucking with
those guys seem real. Well, I might be jinxing them too with this, but they seem just locked into having fun. So
they seem solid.
I wouldn't put $1 on them.
I think that when you first go like, these guys aren't getting along, but they really want to make it, where they still have that, like, you look at I'm trying to think of a good example of a band that we've had on the show.
Shadow Witch
they're just guys that never expected to do well. They just wanted to make good music.
Yeah, and they're just getting all these great reviews and everything.
Yeah, it's kind of, stop trying and just do something amazing.
Just jam, man.
Yeah.
Just jam.
Just do it.
So speaking of doing something amazing, cacao. We got Carrie Jones Ross. Carrie Ross Jones, as she likes to be called.
No, she does not like to be called that.
From the Food Security Development Manager of the Hudson Valley Agribusiness Development Corporation, working closely with feedhv.org, and it's basically linking up local food pantries and nonprofits so they can reallocate unused food
That's a $5 word for you, Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
I'm pulling out everything I got.
Reading off of something, or
no.
you just,
That word is not on there. I'm just trying.
I'm proud of you. That's really good.
Yeah, I know. I'm digging deep for this one. That's why I've been quiet for like 5 minutes at a time, because I need to recharge.
I need to think. This is my impression of Ryan Bosch. I need to think of a word.
Google it.
It needs to be a correct word.
Google always has all the words.
The big thing is the head position. It's like this.
He does do that.
All right.
He's
like,
trying to access a different
I don't know
part
if
of
it
his
looks
brain.
right, but this is how I
Yeah.
I kind of sit like this.
Yeah.
And when he's thinking, he kind of goes.
He's trying to access his cerebellum.
Yeah.
He's like moving, he's shifting it around.
I'm shortening my neck so that the blood can get to my brain faster.
Right. Shortening the spinal column fluid.
See, that's an example of me not digging deep. Anyway, we left off at what did we leave off on?
Food rescue.
We were just all over the place.
That was the whole show. No, I think we were talking about
how prepared you were.
That's
what.
So
Thank
before we get back into the food rescue, can I start with how dare you?
Yeah, how dare you?
Do it.
Bring a Starbucks cup into this house. This podcast that is proudly sponsored by the Crafted Cup at 44 Raymond Avenue in Poughkeepsie, New York.
You don't have a drive-through. That's all I ask.
Yeah, Tanner said to me one day, he's like, if I could put in a drive-through, I would. And I said,
but Tanner didn't put in a drive-through.
So I said to you, if you could put in a drive-through and then did, I would leave that day.
Yeah.
The day construction started, I would quit this job. Because I've been on that headset and I've had people bitch about things ranging from the lights not working on the menu, you need to come out here with a flashlight, to no, I ordered it iced, and I said, absolutely you didn't. I repeated your order 6 times because I knew you were an idiot. I could tell from 40 feet away over a radio headset.
Dude, I can tell they're abused because when I was online getting this, when I drove up, she's like, sorry for the wait. And there was like no real wait. And I said, it's okay. Like, I can wait 2 minutes for my
But
coffee.
you can. Most people can't.
No, because we're such a privileged,
Yeah.
entitled culture. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
It's just gross.
Sometimes, not to go down the rabbit hole, but it's better to make people wait before the order. So if you get backed up, you just don't take the person's order and you piss one person off like a lot. Like so fucking much, because they're just sitting at the order window thingy, not the order window, the speaker thingy. You have that person sit there for like a long fucking time.
Smart.
And then the people behind them assume that person is an asshole.
Yeah.
Nice.
And that they're giving you a ridiculously long order, and can you believe this bitch in the Lexus? What a fucking asshole.
You are literally gaslighting the line.
Yeah.
Way to go. Overwriting reality with your own narrative. That is how you do it.
Gaslighting the drive-through.
And you can seriously, when they pull up, you see the woman.
I'm copywriting that right now.
Yeah, all right.
So this, you'll do this when you get backed up with drinks, like you just can't keep up. So you have, the person waiting at the window. There's 3 people behind them. There's the woman at the order. I shouldn't say she's a woman, but it's 60% of 90% of the people that go through the drive-through are women. That's just what I've
because
seen.
we are multitaskers, my friend.
So
we are
please
getting
send
stuff
all complaints to Dead Radio Podcast care of Adam
I think
Patain.
Starbucks actual numbers, it's in the 70-80% is female customers.
Really?
I'm not surprised.
Wow.
Yeah, you could really. That's kind of reflected in their menu too.
Yeah,
it's all like fruity drinks, for sure. But we are the multitaskers.
So if you have you got your person at the window, they're waiting on a drink. Then you got 3 people behind them, and you're never going to catch up. You let that person wait. Don't take their order, because the people behind them are going to blame the person at the talkie box, whatever the fuck you call it. So you let them sit till you get caught up. You serve the person in the Lexus that you're now blaming on everything. And the next person that pulls up, it's amazing. You just go, really sorry for the wait. And they go, I know. It's not your fault. It's fine.
Yep. I always say that.
Almost every time. Yeah. Whereas if you tried to keep it going, every person in that whole line's mad at you.
I can't stand listening to people order food or their drinks or whatever and say, yeah, get me this or I want that. It's like, what is wrong with you?
It's a very New York
Who
thing.
are you talking to?
Yeah, it's a can I get
I
it's
was
called
bitching
May
about
I
that
please
too.
Have.
I was
And
bitching
then
about
thank
that
you.
too, and you said you're like, that's kind of a New York thing.
It's a New York thing.
Can I get
but
a
it's
bacon, egg, and
rude
cheese, salt,
thing.
pepper, ketchup?
Yeah, but why don't you
Yeah.
say that versus gross with the ketchup on the eggs? But
I know it's disgusting. right?
disgusting.
It's not disgusting.
It
You
is.
need to be
It's
taken
foul.
out back and shot. And then your body should be
95%
donated to a
of
food
people
pantry.
disagree with both of you.
Put
So it's fine for you to have that
put hot
opinion.
sauce on it, not ketchup. My
Yeah.
God. But seriously,
If you took a poll, 95% of people would either go, it's fine, or you're an idiot for not liking ketchup
show me
on
your
your
statistic right now.
Yeah,
I
No
want
one's
to see
ever
the source.
taken that. Who
I
funds
want to
that
see
poll?
that source right now. But seriously, like, what is wrong with saying like, "May I please have" or "Can I have" versus "Give me this, I want that"? Like, what is wrong with people? It's like you're not talking to a robot. You're talking
gotta
to
go
a fellow
specifically
human,
New York on that
to
one,
a
though.
mother, to a brother, to a sister. You know, like, why would we talk
Oh,
to
it's
each other
super-
like
it's
that?
super rude.
We are so disconnected from
Yeah.
each other. Man, I hate that.
But I mean, is it
Yes,
disconnected or
yes,
are we
we're
like
disconnected.
Are we just kind of that's our slang? You know, that's
I-
our
that's what-
our way of
I
talking.
mean, I
to
think
each
it's-
other. Just
you
we were
think
talking about
yeah,
cursing and everything
get me
before.
a beer is somehow the word please or gratitude is somehow inflected in that?
Well, I think "get me a" is a little bit much, but
If
can
that's
I
more
get
of an
a?
order.
Well, can I
Doesn't-
get a still doesn't it's I'm really talking about people who say, "Yeah, I want this," or "Yeah, get me this." That's really
Or-
my axe
or,
grinding
"Yeah, let
here.
me get."
No, here's my favorite.
let me get
Not
a-
so much a crafted cup, but it's Starbucks. Hi, how are you today? Large latte.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, no, it'd be
Large latte?
It would be grande, or no, grande's a medium. What the fuck?
I refuse.
Venti.
I refuse
Venti
to go
latte.
there. I order.
Yeah.
I just order a large. I'm not.
Yeah,
gonna sit there
and it's only in the
mess around
movies
with
where a barista at Starbucks corrects you for that. They
Yeah,
all go,
yeah,
"Thank you for
yeah.
saying large,"
Like a Ben Stiller
because
movie.
venti is stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel embarrassed.
Well, the
I
best
feel
was
ashamed saying
role models with
Oh yeah,
with
yeah.
Paul Rudd when he's like, "Well, venti is 20, grande's large, tall is also large, so you're stupid in 3 languages. Congratulations."
I like Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Have you seen Role Models?
Yes.
Yeah,
He was
it's on
almost
Hulu right
almost
now.
on my softball team.
Yeah.
Almost.
Nearly.
We were in talks,
Mm.
but for the acquisition, but
For the
it
acquisition.
fell through.
11th hour. So I have some food waste statistics. If you guys want.
Yeah,
to
since
know.
we're so
Yeah.
fond of
Prepare
statistics.
to
I feel like you
buckle
got
up
off
in here.
easy on the Starbucks thing, just so you know.
I deserve a pass. Gonna pinch this for a minute. So, because we talked about hunger, which to me, I'm on feeding mission. So that to me is the more important component of food rescue. But so many of our volunteers are oriented to the environmental aspects of it. In fact, so many of our volunteers are oriented to it that our software, like there's a lot, we have like some donor tracking and volunteer tracking. Like we have different types of tracking reports that our software offers. And one of the things that is in our software is the greenhouse gas conversion. So that is something that a donor can see is just how much like the metric for greenhouse gases and how many miles in a passenger car, if had those greenhouse gases been a passenger car, what that equivalent is. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So are you talking about like this food rotting as opposed
Yes,
to being
because
okay.
food
Yeah.
rots in at an exponential rate, and the methane gases that it produces are far exceed what is normally like just what like regular garbage, you know.
Yeah.
So basically 40% of food produced in the United States is wasted, which is 20 pounds per person per month. And I am so guilty of it, man. You could do food rescue in my own fridge, my vegetable crispers, where
Sure,
all my good
sure.
intentions go to die, right?
Yeah, you got that carrot soup at the bottom. It's
Oh,
great.
Dude, I just threw that away. So,
Get chickens. Works really well for that.
Don't
so
get chickens; they're horrifying.
Oh, they're gross.
annoying.
They're
They're
terribly
totally
gross.
horrifying.
I know they're
animals.
annoying. 17% of food grown in the United States is wasted. So, I mean, that's like
40%.
17.
Well, you said 17.
40% of it produced.
Okay.
Okay, so that's like happening in the growth, in the production, in the transportation, in the distribution.
Jesus.
Whereas just in the growing process alone is almost 20%.
Holy hell.
So, I mean, really, I would not want to be a farmer. It is tough to be a farmer. And then again, 1 in every 10 people go
operating at a loss constantly.
Yeah. Oh, they all are. And they all, like, I have so many farmer friends that have, like, 2 jobs, 3 jobs. Like, you know, they're up at 5 a.m. They're in bed at, midnight. I couldn't even imagine. It's crap weather. You know, they're out there. It's such a hard job. So 55%, these statistics I'm about to give you are from the Department of Agriculture, Economic Research Service. 55% of the strawberries are like part of the dirty dozen because they use like so much fungicides and pesticides are required for strawberry manufacturing. And the minute, like when you're picking a strawberry, the minute you touch it, it's destroyed. It's such a difficult crop to have. 55.
People love that nature's candy.
Yeah, it's delicious though, right? And it's nutritious. 55% of strawberries that make it to market each year. So only 55%, like a little more than half of what's grown even makes it to the store. And then out of that 55%, 10% get wasted in the store just from mishandling, and 35% gets wasted in our kitchens. My kitchen.
Whew.
Yep. And then
that's crazy.
That's crazy, right? Potatoes, 77% of the potatoes make it to market. So we're wasting almost a quarter of our potatoes in growth. And then 7% get screwed up in the store and thrown away in the store. 16% in our kitchens.
That's crazy because if you just put a potato in a cool, dry place, it can last for 4 months.
Dude, potatoes should be no-brainer, right? Like even I could manage
and they
potato.
start to grow. Just put it in the ground. You got a new potato.
Right. They're like zombie proof.
That's what I do.
My Brooke cut the top of the potato that we were about to eat had started growing on, like one of the eyes started growing. So she cut the top of that off and stuck it in the ground. That started growing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get 6 potatoes out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
It was ridiculous.
So 62% of the lettuce that makes it to market each year. So in other words, nearly 40% of lettuce just gets destroyed before it even and the growth and the transportation and whatever gets destroyed. So 62%
sometimes I think lettuce grows dead.
Dude, like the minute a shoot comes up, like every animal in the forest is eating it in my garden.
I'm sorry, I keep cutting you off.
No, it's so cool. And then 14% gets wasted in the store, and 24% of lettuce. So I mean, seriously, that's brutal, right?
Yeah,
eating 20, like a quarter of it.
And even if you don't like chickens and you don't like the eggs, every time I go, this lettuce is no good, I give it to them, and they're like, this is amazing. And then I get to eat the eggs that they make from my crap lettuce. That I mean, to be honest, like you paid $2 for it. It's not about the money. It's about how wasteful it was, and especially in the winter, knowing that shit came from Mexico.
Yeah.
The carbon footprint of that is insane.
That's it. Yeah. Why are we importing food from around the world to feed people who live here when we're growing it next door?
Yeah.
It's so.
But I really want to do like some sort of hydroponic system so I could just have spinach in the middle of winter that I know didn't come from 1,000 or 4,000 miles away.
There is an organic indoor what do they call themselves? A micro garden in Poughkeepsie that grows, microgreens. And so they're growing micro kale, micro lettuces. And the reason that's so cool is because the nutritional value of what's in the microgreens is so much higher. Yeah. And they're right here in Poughkeepsie. They're a newer facility.
Have you heard of not to backtrack you? We're going to get right back into this after I say this. But Elon Musk's brother is doing indoor gardening in New York City.
Oh, cool.
And it's 24-hour light source from LED from solar panels, and then at night I think they still need to rely on the grid for air conditioning during the summer and heat during the winter, but it's very, very low impact. They're doing them in shipping containers with LED lights, and one shipping container is equal to 50 acres of lettuce. because
Sure.
of the output.
Yeah.
Because you can go, because you get 24 hours of light
Yeah.
equals 3 times the production.
Yeah.
And it's hydroponic.
Uh-huh.
So you can grow a head of lettuce in 3 weeks as opposed to 3 months.
That's so neat.
Yeah.
Ready for this?
So-
It's the Indoor Organic Gardens of
Yeah.
Poughkeepsie, and you can order online on their website, indoororganicgardensofpoughkeepsie.com, their microgreens.
Yeah. Yep.
Cool.
How
You can
cool is
buy
that,
'em.
right?
It's crazy.
So cool.
All kinds of micro this and that.
Yep. I love it. And what's
that's
also
awesome.
popping up
Wow,
in
that's
this neck of the woods too are indoor, well, I don't know if they're indoor, but local fish farms. But the right kind of fish farm that they're not just dumping a bunch of antibiotics and crap and, like.
Gotta go with like farm tilapia.
and
That's
yeah,
supposed to be
like
the
they're
best one.
like
Pink dye to make sure the salmon looks right.
quality
Yeah.
fish farms, which is a nice, refreshing change.
Yeah, it's tilapia and brook trout are
Yeah.
supposedly the 2 best. I only know this
Two
from
nasties.
like researching survival gardens and stuff like that. There are all these guys that have these hydroponic systems that feed back on themselves.
Yes.
So you use tilapia or brook trout to provide nitrogen for the plants, and then the plants clean the water, and then you harvest the fish sustainably. It's like a whole closed system.
Yeah. Tilapia is dirty fish, though, because they eat a lot of crap.
But if it's a closed system.
Right. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
if you're like, if it's healthy.
Yeah.
So, and then bread. My God, there is so much bread wasted and so much bread in the food pantry system. The reason that is of consequence is because we're devoting so much of our nation's landmass and resources to growing grains that we don't really need and shouldn't be. We're overproducing the crap out of grains in this country, right?
Sure.
It's insane. We have aisles and aisles and aisles of
Should
carbs.
only be used for beer and just get rid of everything else.
Right. So,
You should have bread on Christmas and Thanksgiving.
yeah. So, and then
And the funny thing is, you're showing like a pretty nice piece of bread.
yeah. But that's my point.
Fucking
That's my
wonder-
point.
Yeah.
Because what happens is it goes into the food pantry stream, all this like crappy bread. And who's eating bread? Do you know who eats it? Children and seniors is who eats bread every day. And it makes them sick.
Yeah.
And it
for
makes
sure
them
it does.
sick.
But bread, you just throw it in the freezer.
It's
That's
got
fine.
it's got
But
bleach
the thing
in
is,
it.
you shouldn't be making it in the first place.
It's Wonder Bread.
Fucking
It's
Wonder
not,
Bread. Wonder Bread lasts 3 months unrefrigerated.
Yeah.
That's
It's like the
fucking
Twinkie.
gross.
It's like a Twinkie.
Whereas when I make bread at home from scratch, it lasts for 2 days.
Yep.
2 days.
Mhm.
It'll last 5 if you don't cut it.
Mhm.
The second you cut it, 2 days. You're done.
We got bread alone
Mhm.
as a donor. And the reason I love that is because now, rather than Wonder Bread, kids
Yeah.
and seniors have the option to eat healthier grains. So instead of ingesting what could, literally be a poison to them,
Yeah,
they
cancer.
can have, really,
Yeah.
they can have something that's a lot healthier for them.
Yeah, and
So,
and I
I
mean,
love
like I
that.
have my whole thing about carbohydrate and new grains, like not heirloom grains, and bread alone is one of the few. Although we have a lot of bitches about them, their ingredients are pretty sound. They don't use
Their
high
ingredients are
fructose
sound.
corn syrup and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Very
So
nutritious.
yeah, and their sourdough is fucking great. But I'm
Totally
trying to avoid eating grains altogether, and I think everyone should limit them. But if you have a sandwich from bread alone once a week, that's totally fine.
And we're talking about kids and seniors, and they're just going to
Yeah.
eat sandwiches. That's the way it is.
Mhm.
So it should be healthy. You know what holds a lot of seniors back are their teeth.
Yeah.
So when, like, I did the farm
Can't eat that
stand,
crusty bread.
yeah, the crusty bread's tough. When I did the farm stand, I would have seniors tell me, like, I would go to hand them an apple, and they're like, and they would show me they had no teeth. So then it was so wild. So many of them would tell me they had NutriBullets. I couldn't believe it. How many people told me, seniors told me they had no teeth, so they got NutriBullets so they could puree their food
There you
to
go.
eat it. I know. I love that. I thought that was great. I always wanted to write NutriBullet and get like a bunch donated because.
Well, yeah, I mean they're only
seriously.
like $10, right?
NutriBullets?
For the little one.
I don't know
Yeah.
about that.
No, how much
You're
are they?
buying your NutriBullet.
I don't know. I'm thinking of the
I'm
Kmart,
buying
the
Megabullet
Kmart
and
knockoff
my
brand.
Megabullet's like more than $10.
I know I can buy a blender for $8.99 at
Yeah.
Kmart. So
The Mutra
Yeah.
bullet.
The Mutra bullet.
Hold on, let me see how much a.
I know you can get a food processor for like $4.99 at Kmart.
So some people get really creative with it. I love that. I think that's cool.
NutriBullet Classic, $60.
See? See? But then there's Facebook Marketplace, and you get a little cheaper there. You know, I'm all about that.
It's addicting. Addictive? Addicting.
Addictive.
Addictive.
It's addictive. Addicting would be
the sign on.
Yeah, it would be the sign on halftime that says "This place is addicting," which means the place comes to you and forces you to drink beer until you're addicted to it.
Yes.
So
What a rotten place.
me tying you up and shooting you up with heroin would be me addicting you to heroin.
Yes.
Yes. So grammar's fun, folks.
So
don't be
Stay
a
in
dummy
school.
and
Stay in
pay
school.
$100 for a sign and then just have to live with it for the rest of your life.
You have an amazing amount of passion for this whole thing.
Thank you.
Why? What got you started? Because you're a spark plug about it.
Okay, so let's see, because I've been a journalist in the Hudson Valley for almost 17 years, and I did write a lot. I've always very focused on poverty alleviation. I wrote a lot of articles that focused on hunger because I was seeing as a journalist the demand go up in pantries and while the donations decreased. And so I was hearing that from pantries, and so I was reporting on that a lot. And then I was in a fellowship program, and there's this regional think tank called Pattern for Progress. And they crunch a lot of regional numbers and statistics. And I did a fellowship with them, and we worked on hunger statistics and poverty statistics in Sullivan County. And so then the former executive director of the Food Bank of the Hudson Valley and the associate director had both taken they're both graduates of that same fellowship program, and they were at my graduation, and they liked the work that we did, and they also knew my journalism and my work on food hunger. And then I was also on the board of a soup kitchen. But see, I always did it. I always did it as a practice of mission, like of feeding mission, and as an extension ministry of feeding ministry. That was my approach. Like it's almost a relief because you don't have to sit there and worry about judging someone when you're dealing with feeding, because poverty is so complicated. You just like it doesn't matter, like they're a pedophile or a nurse, whatever it is that is their background, they have to get all of that sorted out. But while they're working on all of that upper level stuff, they still need to have something to eat. So being in feeding is like a relief from feeling like the judgment calling you, like you want to judge them. You know, I think that the commandment, thou shalt not judge, is to save us from ourselves. Because I could sit there and be like, Adam didn't really need to go to food pantry, you know, and
Yeah,
I could judge you, and my heart could
Yeah.
get more and more narrow and whatever. And I could even be right. I could be right, you know, in quotes, like, and I could close my heart with it, and I could burn up in the flames of my own righteousness, or I could just set it aside and be like, here, have something to eat.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's why I like feeding, because it's neutral.
Yeah.
You know.
That's really strong.
I mean, I get that.
Strong
And
statement.
it's got it. You know, it takes. I mean, like I said, the funny thing maybe it's not funny, but for my situation, I went there versus reaching out to many people. Like I could have said, "Hey, Bosch, can I come over for dinner? Because I'm starving." I would have, but
sure.
I would have been embarrassed.
Yeah,
You know?
a lot of people feel embarrassed.
So, and I think that comes down to a lot. I'm sure there are a lot of people in that situation.
A lot of people.
You know.
Yeah.
And I just said I just got to make it until Friday or whatever, so I could just get through that, and I don't have to ask for help. And I prided myself on not asking my dad for money for many years.
Oh yeah,
And like I think the reason I know a lot of people's backstories is because they feel compelled to tell me because they're humiliated being there. One lady said to me, she said, this whole season I have felt like you have been judging me, and she wasn't wrong. Because she would show up dressed real nice. She had a little doggy with her, and the doggy was dressed real nice, and she had like this cute little Volkswagen buggy, and I'm like, what is this lady doing here? Like, she was coming from Woodstock, and she was totally right. I was judging the hell out of her. But then and then I started like really thinking about her, and I'm like, no, I could sort of see she's got some health conditions or something. She's got some kind of underlying health thing going on, right? And so I said, and I told her that. I said, yeah, for much of the season, I really was judging you. And then I really started thinking about perhaps maybe you had some underlying health reasons that brought you here. And she confirmed that. She said she had a car accident. The reason she had nice clothes is because she used to own a vintage clothes store. And the car was a settlement from a car accident that she had. And now she's got like so many health problems. And she's on a very tight little fixed income. And I felt like such a piece of crap for it, and I'm like, I will carry your food to your car, like I did, and that was a lesson to me, because you just don't know who, everybody thinks, oh, look at that car, no, look at the, you don't really know how they got that car.
Yeah, there's the old adage of the person using food stamps while talking on their iPhone at the supermarket, but it's like, what if that person lost their job like 60 days ago?
That is so common.
And what if they don't own their phone?
Or somebody bought them the phone or whatever. Yeah. I mean, there's so many backstories, and you just don't know. And even if they're totally mismanaging their money, that is a symptom of poverty. That is part of the problem. That's a whole symptom of it. That's not like, that is small, the smallest of potatoes. That's like the eye on a potato compared to the whole harvest of what our issues are in this country. It's, that's not who's robbing this nation, but that's who the government focus that energy on, and I shouldn't say that, but that energy, negative energy is focused on blaming the victim. And that's, that's the low-hanging fruit on the tree is the person who's sitting there, making mistakes with their money and stuff.
And the biggest thing this comes down to, and I've experienced it, you experienced it, but probably way back when, is that cycle of poverty. You overdraw your account, and then that causes you to overdraw your account 6 more times. You know what I mean? Whereas it might have only been 1 if you didn't fuck up once. Yeah. You can't pay 1 bill, so there's a fee, and then there's a late charge, and then there's higher interest rates, and
just keep spiraling out of
and
control.
It gets to the point where it's just like, had I had the money to pay it, it would only been $300, but now we're talking $900.
Yeah, they say that it's so expensive to be poor, because if you're buying your laundry detergent load by load, that's like what, $3 or $4, $3 or $4 to do a load of laundry, $5 to do a load of laundry, versus having the money to buy a big thing of Tide.
Yeah, exactly. I don't, somebody might not have the money for, the big thing.
Really common. So they buy it one bit at a time.
It's a big difference. And it's the same thing. We talked about food deserts briefly.
Oh, yeah. We didn't
did you want to touch on that really quickly?
All right, let me touch on the food deserts. So food deserts are an interesting scenario. So food deserts, I'm going back in
I'm really curious about this, because
it's a very common occurrence in very poor places in New York City.
Well, there's rural food deserts too.
Can I tell you my interpretation of it? And then you can tell me if I'm totally wrong. So in New York City, for instance,
it's my specialty,
right? New York City, for instance, would be your choice is the bodega, or get on 3 goddamn trains and then buy all your groceries at Aldi or Whole Foods or whatever, and then take 3 goddamn trains back home.
If you're strong enough to carry your groceries.
Exactly.
Because if you're a senior and you can't carry your groceries,
so you
gotta get that wire cart on the wheels.
Your option now is to pay 3 times the price at the bodega around the corner.
Yeah.
Instead of doing that, and in a rural area, I would imagine you got to drive 35 miles to get to a supermarket.
My sisters-in-law used to live in Queens, and their apartment was conveniently right across the street from a market, and she's like, just like walking across the street, getting the groceries and walking them back. It wasn't like across the street. It was like, I don't know. It's hard to explain where it was, but there's like 2 blocks away ish. And she's like, just grabbing the groceries there and walking them 2 blocks back to the apartment was a lot. It was enough for me to make me go, geez, I'm glad I live right next to a market. I can't imagine taking a train to get your groceries, getting them, sitting on the train with your groceries.
And that's why a lot of people just don't do it. They just eat out all the time, which costs 10 times as much.
Yeah.
Or they order in, which costs 4 times as much. And, and that just
and they're
makes
eating
that-
high sodium, high fat.
Yeah.
We put food pantries in senior housing because low-income senior housing, because we learned through the soup kitchen, because we learned how many of the seniors were just skipping meals. Seniors will just skip a meal, and that's not cool.
I skip a meal all the time.
Yeah. Right.
Well, you're
I
young.
did today.
You're young.
But seniors shouldn't skip meal. You chose to skip.
You're not an 83. You're not an 83
You chose
pound
it.
old lady.
So a food desert by the USDA definition is 20% of poverty rate or median income below 80% of the area's median. So that's going to vary by the community. And the other part that factors into food desert, like you were just saying, is not just the income, but the access to food. So 500 people, or at least 33%, live more than 1 mile from a supermarket if they're urban. So if they are urban, then they have to live more than a mile. And if they're rural, 10 miles. So, which really is a difficult thing if you are a senior and you're living, if you're shut in and you are
it's just
far
dawning
away
on
from
me,
a
like,
store.
there's no grocery stores. Like, if I live down near the river, like, if on Main Street
they put in an Aldi on Main Street. And that was like a big thing because there was no. Is it an Aldi?
No, it's like it's the Latin market or something like that.
No. There is a supermarket not far from Casa Latina, I think,
across the street from.
Yeah, and that was a big deal that was going in there because there was no supermarket closer than Stop and Shop, which is 4 miles from there.
Mm-hmm.
So here's a map of.
That's interesting. I never
Here's
thought
a map
that.
of food deserts. So if you look at Dutchess, so here
Holy
you've
shit.
got
Yeah.
here's low income, right? Here's northern Dutchess, very rural. Here's low access to food, like by that definition, and which low access being 1 mile urban, 10 miles rural, and then low income, low access. So here's Dutchess County's food desert areas. Of course, Poughkeepsie has
Which is
food
is
deserts.
that little green patch right
It's
there?
that little green patch right here.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was just talking about.
Yeah,
That's
so
that
that's
spot.
Poughkeepsie,
Yeah.
and next to Poughkeepsie,
Such
you see,
such densely
You wanna go-
populated
yeah.
areas.
that's the exact area you were talking
So
about.
the idea of this is these people that live in these neighborhoods, they got to go to like a local bodega or a deli.
Where they're
and
paying a premium.
Yeah,
no
they're
less.
paying a giant premium,
And it's
or they're
crappy
eating
food.
fast food.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of these people are eating fast food 3 meals a day because it's the best, cheapest option. And even then, you're talking $15 a day to eat.
Yeah.
Whereas I can go to Adam's and spend a premium, as some people say,
Here we go.
and I can live off of $6 or $7 a day.
I have some statistics about food insecurity in Poughkeepsie.
Okay.
So I forgot. This is also from the Benjamin Center. God bless the Benjamin Center for doing all this. So this came out of Poughkeepsie Farm Project, Cornell Cooperative Extension, Dutchess County Department of Health, Dutchess Outreach. It requires all these entities to examine all these spectrums, all these, of food insecurity. So let's see. Here you go. This is food stores and poverty rate by census tract, food stores and food deserts by census tract. Here it is in the city of Poughkeepsie. I don't know Poughkeepsie well enough to really sit here and talk about where this is, but maybe you guys recognize that.
Hang on one second. Now point to where you're talking about.
So
So
right
the-
here,
So the green bit's the bad part?
the green bits is, yeah.
Strat Park, Beechwood. Okay.
Yeah, that's our neighborhood.
That's right behind us.
Yeah, that's
pretty
a
much.
mile from here.
Yeah.
Mhm. So
Yeah, so around here we talked about places like My
I'm sorry.
Market. We talked about places like My Market.
0% poverty rate.
And then city Poughkeepsie food insecurity
Oh,
by
sorry, cut you off.
socioeconomic and demographic factors. Now we're putting on the glasses because that means business.
Okay.
Okay, so insecure with hunger. So for those in Poughkeepsie, city of Poughkeepsie, food insecure, who make less than $15,000 a year, 32%. Whoops.
Holy shit.
Holy ethnicity, 22% are Hispanic, 12% are black.
Say the first number again. 30.
32% are those who are making less than $15,000
That
a year.
live in the city of Poughkeepsie.
Yep.
Well, not 32% of people make $15,000 a year. 32%.
City of Poughkeepsie, food insecurity are insecure with hunger. 32%.
Yeah. So it's
I'm showing
she's
my
saying,
stupidity.
Yeah. So she's correct me if I'm wrong, but you're saying that 32% of people who make less than $15,000 a year are food insecure.
No. 32 I believe this means that 32% of people in Poughkeepsie are reporting less than $15,000 a year.
Holy
shit!
That's what I think.
I believe that. Yeah.
Okay, so 22% are black. No. 32%. I'm having breakfast tomorrow with the woman that put these numbers together.
All right, yeah.
I'm going to ask her for some clarification.
Hang on. City of Poughkeepsie. Food insecurity by socioeconomic and demographic factors. The way I'm reading this is that 32% of people from the city of Poughkeepsie who have food insecurity
are earning less than
$15,000.
That's what. Yeah. That's what. Okay. That's what I think.
28. So
22% are Hispanic. 12% are black. 14% are aged 35 to 44. They're my contemporaries. 15% have children in households. 14% are earning $15,000 to $50,000. That's crazy.
So 14% of the people who have food insecurity are making between above the poverty line to what would be considered middle class.
And not only is that up to that means they can't even get services, and they are what's called the working poor. You know?
Yeah, those are the people that fall between the cracks.
Yep.
Yeah.
So household size 3 or more people, 15%. 13% are female. 16% are 45 to 60, and under 35, 12%. Let's see, blah 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 blah. So
yeah, so the way that I look at that, like that 15,000 to 50,000, that could be a single mom with 3 kids.
Mm-hmm.
You could make $50,000 a year. You can't fucking support 3 kids in Poughkeepsie and feed them.
Nope.
At $50,000 a year.
Yep, exactly.
It's incredible. It's like all these little factors and all these little these little subgenre, terrible term for it, of people who fall in these categories. You don't think about them. You just think about this big picture stuff.
The new farm bill.
Think about what if Brooke got injured and couldn't work anymore?
But
she didn't qualify for anything.
It'd be
you
all
had to
over.
completely take care of her.
Whole house, whole card, all the cards would come down.
Or even if you couldn't work anymore. Could you imagine? You have some sort. I mean, let's say she loses her job, you lose your health insurance, and then a week later you have a stroke and you can't work anymore.
Right.
And she's got to take care of you, and you have all of this.
Yep.
You're going to lose everything.
Yeah. Well, we'd have to sell and move into a studio.
But even if she makes $50,000 a year, you're fucked.
Yep.
That's a goddamn problem.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
And like you were saying before, a lot of it comes down to healthcare.
Yeah. For me, for me, it does.
Keeping our people healthy and taken care of.
Yep.
It's incredible.
So pre-recession, over 17,000 households were in the Dutchess, Orange, Putnam, Ulster region were utilizing food stamps. Post-recession, it doubled to 33,000 households in the area using food stamps.
And that hasn't snapped back, right?
No.
Yeah.
And Dutchess County, pre-recession, it was 4,570. Post-recession, 9,751. So the difference is an additional 5,000 people had to get on.
So that just
food
smashed
stamps.
us into a new.
That's the hidden thing with everyone saying that the economy's doing better, the economy's doing better, the economy's doing better.
Yeah, but we're playing catch up.
The economy is doing better than it was before the recession. The economy, yes. Yeah. But the thing is that there's a lot of people that have given up on trying to get a job, that are unable to work at this point.
And they can't actually count them because they're not on unemployment. So it's really hard to...
Yeah, that's like what I was saying before. No one asked me.
Right.
No one asked me because I was a white guy in his mid-30s who applied for benefits and was denied. No one asked me.
Yep.
Yeah.
So when we were talking about the unmet need, unmet need, which is what you were talking about earlier. So some of the things that keep people from going on SNAP is stigma, pride. Stigma's a big one, especially for kids.
Yeah.
Ooh. And elderly because they feel like they work their whole lives. They don't, or they don't feel that they deserve it. They're like, save that for someone who actually needs it. They don't recognize that they need it, pride, transportation. Yeah. Like we were just talking about, even just getting your little rolly cart and groceries on the bus. Yep. That's a problem. But even getting to the pantries, Ulster County did a great service of creating a map that overlays a map of all the food pantries and their hours, and overlaying it with Ulster County's public transportation. So that way they can look at the bus routes and know and line up the bus route with the food pantry schedule. Because that's a sorcery right there, right?
Sure.
So transportation challenges and the capacity to navigate the bureaucracy. Because if you've ever applied for
anything
benefits, dear
the government
God.
provides,
it is.
Anything the local government provides
it is
even
confusing.
harder.
Yeah.
You ever tried to apply for HEAP?
It is.
Oh, that's super fun.
It's a humdinger.
And basically, at the end of all of it, 17 hours of applications and figuring shit out. They go, oh, well, you don't own your house? Yeah, you don't qualify.
So this is just in Ulster County, but this is a map with a percent of households in poverty not receiving SNAP benefits. So if you look at this dark right here, and this is Shandaken, Woodstock, Olive, what does that say? I can't even read it.
Very rural.
Worthing or whatever. Between 10 and 25% of households who qualify for it, but they're not receiving SNAP benefits, which means that they're getting their food from alternate sources like food pantries. And SNAP would at least enable a household to get healthier food.
So, and they can get this information probably from tax returns, right?
Tax returns if people are filing them. Sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
If you're mentally ill or and you're like, and you're not receiving services and you don't have any support, like you might not know how
So
to
this
file
is
a
the
tax
best
return.
case scenario.
This is best case
it's
scenario.
It's probably worse
There's
than
I mean,
it's
not
also
easy.
education, as in educating the community that these programs are out there.
For it.
You know, because like
they
we're
have
just
to do outreach.
You just say something and I pop it up on my internet, but you know, some of these people don't have that.
For me, like when I thought about getting SNAP benefits, my sister was like, it really helped me when I had Lucas and my husband left and that kind of stuff. She was like, it really helped me out. Like, you should look into it.
I thought you meant your husband. I was like,
no, her husband. No, I'm engaged to a very nice lady.
What is used to define hunger, because it is such a complicated thing to try to quantify and qualify. The Benjamin Center says that they use poverty, homelessness and housing costs, unemployment, inequality, food deserts, food insecurity, and then they even do examine the remedies such as SNAP, food stamps, public school free and reduced lunches like we discussed much earlier, and food distributed to those in need. So, I mean, it's very complicated how, to try to wrap your arms around the whole thing.
To be honest, when you're coming on the show, it's just like,
what the hell are we going to talk about?
What the hell are we going to talk
about?
It's so much information. There's so many little moving parts. It's incredible to me.
You said you wanted to know the moving parts, dude.
Oh, yeah, that's
Be
incredible.
careful what you asked for.
Should have written down
We're not even
TED Talk.
We're not even talking about
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Corporations and everything, or organizations that are handing out grants for all this stuff too at the same time. It's boy, it's like it's making my head spin. How much organization is needed to keep these things afloat, and the fact that a lot of it's volunteer based too.
Oh my God! And that's the whole thing. So community
incredible.
foundations started this program because they fund so many of the emergency feeding programs in the Hudson Valley, and they would ask them, "What do you need?" And everybody was like, "Volunteers, logistics. We can't get the food from A to B." So they did some research and found this Feed HV. They found this software program. It's called Chow Match, and there's even a mobile app, so that way donors or volunteers can see it on. They can use their smartphones for it. That's why our flyer is in the shape of a smartphone. But it was because
specifically an iPhone
agencies
6S.
Maybe. Like, so the food pantries are run a lot of times. They're run by faith-based organizations. They're run by
Right.
they themselves are little elderly people in a basement, and that's who comprises emergency food pantries. And they need a lot of help. They can't lift the food. They can't carry it. They can't transport it. They don't have the volunteers, And the donor, again, is not going to sit there and be like, okay, so you're open on Thursdays from 1 to 1:30. It's tough.
It is. Yeah.
So community foundations having, talk to farmers, talking to everybody, like, what do you guys need? What do you need? Everybody was like, logistics. So this was one of the responses to fill in the gap of what was going on in the food pantry system and the emergency feeding system, and to reduce food waste, which is the best part of it.
Jeez.
Not the best part of it. It was one of the best parts of it, though.
It's a great thing.
A mega
Well, it's the best part for the world.
Yeah. For our
Yeah,
kids.
Yeah.
Well, and it sets a good example too for the future.
Yeah.
Like broadening and expanding this whole way of thinking. This,
If you can kill that 40% worth of waste, I mean, you're talking even regular normal agriculture has a crazy giant carbon footprint. And if 40% of that is thrown in the garbage and then just creates more
it's
greenhouse
all for naught.
gases.
It's like all for naught. It's crazy, right?
Like I said, we're just constantly working in the red.
Yeah.
Perpetually.
So I mean, it's cool to have all these statistics, and like my job is to do outreach. Like I go to the volunteers, I go to the agencies, I go to the donors, and so I need to have all this information to be able to proselytize about it. So that's what you are hearing.
That's a $10 word, because I don't know what it means.
Thank you, Marist College. No. But I mean, standing on the
Think
soapbox.
of clutch lyrics.
Yeah.
Prostrate yourself.
All right. There
You got it.
I like clutch.
So that's the verb of it.
It's not.
I don't know what's happening.
Proselytize,
I just blacked out. I'm
like,
sorry.
Like a preacher proselytizes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So,
Sure.
I knew it, Carrie. I was just being snarky.
No, so prostrate yourself.
Proselytize.
Yeah, so prostrate yourself. What is the clutch lyrics? You got to know it, right?
I don't know.
You said you like Clutch?
I do like Clutch.
Clutch is the best band
You like
ever.
Clutch?
I do
oh,
like
man.
Clutch.
Yeah.
Should have talked about Clutch for 2 hours instead.
Right? I don't know if I could talk about him with the same
Proselytize,
passion.
to convert, or attempt to convert.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's
Yeah.
it's like to preach, to convince.
preach.
Yeah, from one religion, belief, or opinion to
Yeah,
another.
and to prostrate yourself, as in
Mhm.
the Clutch lyric that I can't remember the song, is to convince yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So now that we
It's
settled down.
early Clutch. I'll figure it out in the next few days.
Well,
You'll get an answer eventually.
I think we're.
I think we're done. Yeah.
We did good though.
Yeah.
And I'm totally gonna be. My problem was that one negative comment I made about. Are we done? Are you off? No. Is it off? Stay off.
No. This goes for 17 minutes.
We have a 17-minute outro song
Yeah.
because we quote can't end the show.
Yeah, we cannot end the show.
Somebody who listens to us is like, you guys just don't, or we don't know how to end the show.
Yeah,
that's how it is.
It's because we don't want to. We love it here.
We're like my old mother-in-law, who just doesn't know how to wrap it up.
You're old.
You wanted to
my ex-mother-in-law.
Okay, I was about to say, is she just old or former?
No, she's former. But like I, like leaving a party, I'd be like bye and leave. But she had to like belabor it and walk me, and go through all these goodbyes and walk me to the car and. And if I didn't go through all of that, then she'd be like, "You didn't even say goodbye." I'm like, "I said bye." And you know.
I wish I could just go, all right, and then leave.
I have a lot of trouble with that too.
I feel like it's my duty to walk around and shake everybody's hands, hugs, kisses, get into a mini conversation, and then by the time you're done, it's an hour later than you wanted to leave.
I really respect the person who's just the Irish goodbye, just like, just going to go. I'm going to text. I'm going to text the person who invited me and say, thank you for having me. Didn't want to hold you up. I saw you were in a conversation. That could be totally made up.
I made it
and
home
they just
okay.
fucking
Well,
leave.
then I'm the one belaboring this. The goodbye.
No, this is
I
every,
can leave
this,
right now.
No, this is every week.
This isn't it.
This
isn't
we're
us
not
saying,
done. We're not even
We're not
done
going to
yet.
say goodbye for 17 minutes.
We're not even
start
close to
talking
done
more.
yet. So really quickly, I have to say a big thanks to Chris at Prime Print Shop.
Oh,
yes.
For being just a really great guy and an awesome sponsor for the show, because I I think he's the one that really makes Prime Print Shop a sponsor of the show. They give us all kinds of free shit. But the other day, I wasn't feeling well. I was leaving work early, and I had emailed him several hours before, very late in the night, and said, "Hey, man, here's my invitations for my engagement party. Can you give me a quote?" And he was like, the next morning, I didn't hear back. I went into work. I put my phone in the back because we can't have cell phones at work anymore. And I went to check it as I was going home. And he was like, "Sure, man, we can do that. I actually printed them. Just bring me a cold brew, and they're free."
Oh, nice.
So he printed all of our engagement party
That's
invitations
what makes the
for
world
free.
go round.
Yeah.
Prime Print Shop, 747 Main Street in Poughkeepsie, 845-233-5274 if you want to get some quotes on any kind of print or things of that nature, things that, like, you know,
marketing
stickers,
materials.
Stickers,
posters, that banner he did for us. They're
nice.
really great guys. He won't do things for free for you, but
he does things for free for us, and that's why we talk about him so much.
Say Dead Radio sent you, and he'll say awesome, and then he'll give us more free shit.
But it's Carrie. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
You guys are the best.
You can check out everything that we were talking about. Check out feedhv.org, hvadc.org.
Yep.
It's FeedHV. They're volunteer based, so they're always looking for volunteers. Am I correct?
Yes. So we love volunteers who will help us with the food transportation. We love volunteers who will help us with the processing. So maybe you're an introvert and you don't really so much, you want to just do the food transportation. Or maybe you want to be in a kitchen and then you might be more inclined to do food processing. Maybe you want to be outside and you might want to do some of the harvesting, the gleaning. And then volunteers maybe who would help me just hang up some flyers, or connect me with some donors. There's all different ways to help.
Well,
and we have some regular food runs I would like.
Whenever you have anything, you are welcome to put it up at Crafted Cup. Just let us know. We'll hang it up for you.
I have a little flyer. I'll leave it for you.
If you want to shoot me an email, we will promote it on the show.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that's not a problem at all.
Absolutely.
And again, we talked earlier about Creator Fest. If you guys want a booth, it's yours and it'll be free.
Oh, cool. Thank you. I do have a really hot banner. It's like one of those stand-up banners.
Oh,
those are fun. Those are fun when it's rainy and windy.
It's sharp. yeah, fine. Good point.
It's like a sale. You have a sale.
We dealt with it. We dealt with it at the Dark Side Records Bazaar with the beard guy. What was the
beard dude?
Andrin.
What's the name of his company again? Untamed Beard. Sorry, Andrin.
Mm-hmm.
I just totally blanked. I used your products 3 times today. But anyway, he had a fun banner, and it just turned into a sale that we had to zip tie to his tent and then sandbag it down.
So be wary.
So normally we do some titles.
Yeah.
But this show was kind of serious.
We got a bunch.
No, I wanna do them, but I think it might be okay to just do with your organization if we're not thinking of a fun one.
Okay.
You don't like that idea? It's fine.
Titles as in
No, it's
captioning?
totally, I'm totally fine. I still want to read the titles. That
I was
we've
just
been compiling.
so interested in a lot of things, and this wasn't as much of a funny show as more of an informational show and a good conversation.
I gotta say, I have so much props for you guys. You guys are both very intelligent men. It's
Thank
really
you.
nice.
Hear that? Me. She's talking about me too.
Both of y'all. Very
It's like
intelligent
70,
dudes.
30?
You guys are knowledgeable. All right, so it's like 65, 45. But but you guys are both smart.
Yeah.
You're knowledgeable. You're on point. Like it was. This has been so enjoyable for me.
I tried to drink a lot less than usual to hold.
Oh yeah, you should come here when we got a band in. This guy's
I
fucking
just
destroyed.
chug while everyone else is talking.
You don't require all your brain cells for the conversation.
I don't need it at all.
You know that basket I was talking about, the wheel and the handle? That's what I carry him in up the stairs at the end of the night. All right, so Adam's been compiling a list of show titles for the end of the show.
Dude, if I knew that's what you were doing, I would have totally. I write headlines. I'm a reporter.
I know.
I could
do
totally
you have any?
add
Do you have any off the top of your
Yeah.
head? All right, so I've got
local shitty podcasts.
Exactly. What?
So I've got 14 good hair days.
Yes.
Vegetti recipes. And
that word, I can't not laugh at that word.
That's right.
Who in the board meeting was fine with that?
If it's written out, it's fine.
But it just sounds like vag to me.
I
vag
know
Eddie.
It does.
I know it.
Can't get it in my head.
And I've got Paul Rudd was almost on my softball team.
Yeah. So close.
I also have gaslighting the drive-through and
pretty good.
FooUber, if you will.
FooUber, yes.
I kind of like
FooUber, if you
FooUber.
will. Yeah.
Or just FooUber.
I like that too because I liken it to Uber for food all the time. So,
all right,
I might pinch that.
FooUber.
FooUber,
I might
if
pinch
you will.
that. We didn't do that during the show.
Yeah. It's a very serious show.
Yes.
Well, I
It's
talk
all right.
about vegetables, and we didn't get to.
No,
we didn't get a
right?
single like sexual
It was a
innuendo.
very serious show. It was very good.
serious.
Yeah.
So all right,
But
But in
I
a
said,
great way, though.
Yeah.
Like in a really good
I'm not
way.
trying to
Not in a
say that it
boring way.
wasn't fun. I'm just trying to say that it was. We put on our big boy interview pants and we did a good job.
so I like FooUber. I'm a big
Yeah?
fan.
Mm-hmm.
FooUber or just FooUber?
No. Yeah,
FooUber.
FooUber.
FooUber. Like
So
Foo
it's just
Fighters, but FooUber.
FOO with this. I wish there was a way to
Umlaut.
play around with the D.
Yeah.
I'll
to
figure
the
out.
D
I,
and the B.
I think it
you
should
know?
just be like F.
No. I got FOO because food.
Oh. That's what I was thinking.
But then that doesn't look like food. Although I'm such a fan of
Here, this
umlauts,
is-
it's hard to
this is how I wrote it.
walk away from them.
Right there at the top there.
Yeah, do it. That's
Oh,
fine.
well, that was good.
I kind of like FooUber, if you will.
Yeah, I'm gonna do
Yeah,
that.
you're gonna do FooUber, if you will.
FooUber. Yeah, FooUber.
That's how it goes down.
And then it
dot,
should
dot,
it
if you
should
will.
just definitely be a dot. I even stole a brand new
Wow.
lily white piece of chalk because I prefer brand new white chalk.
It's your privilege.
Yeah.
Check your privilege.
All right, so I think we did a good job today.
Yeah. That was the first semi-racist joke of the whole day.
That was not racist.
Well, the
I
mics
was
weren't on
informing
during the
you to
break.
Check your privilege, mister.
No, it was a pseudo-racist joke. It was a tongue-in-cheek, not racist,
Not
making fun of racist jokes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Wow. All right, so that was episode 180. Thank you so much, Carrie.
Thank you, guys.
We really enjoyed talking about this. It's shocking to me, so it's.
Do something with it.
I'm gonna tell everybody
Don't
I know.
just take
That's
it.
for sure.
Don't just take
any
it
restaurant,
and let it be an
any-
episode. Do something.
I'm definitely
cool
going
with
to
it.
take home more
owners,
bread for my chickens.
Everybody.
Because, yeah.
I just had this up. Yeah. So next week we have Sean from Open Mic is what it has in my notes. So
I can't remember his last name.
Yeah,
it's fine. It's confirmed. It's all good. Well, I'll get all his information.
he's
for
got
next
a
week.
very
He
soulful
does-
voice, and he plays awesome covers of Sublime, and his
his
original stuff
fucking
is great
cover
too.
of Bad Fish is the shit.
So there you go.
Check the Crafted Cups Instagram. Probably 6 weeks ago, something like that. I put up one. But
And
you'll find it in there.
And when you're done with that, check out feedhv.org.
Do that.
Boom.
Yeah.
That's
Do
how you
that.
do it.
And then make sure you sign up to be
Stop
volunteer.
wasting food.
Call
people.
to action.
Yeah.
You're supposed to end everything with a call to action. So sign up.
Stop wasting food. Volunteer.
Mm-hmm. Sign
Yeah.
up.
You heard it here.
Quit throwing out 55% of strawberries. I think that was the statistic.
Was.
I don't know.
55% of
55%
strawberries.
make it to market.
Oh, so 45% are already garbage.
There's garbage.
And
yeah.
then you throw out, 35% in the home?
Yeah, there's a lot.
That's like 150%.
Yeah.
I know. Why would you even be a strawberry
Yeah.
farmer?
You're just
know?
paying people for nothing.
Yeah.
I got one strawberry on a strawberry bush, and it was the ugliest little strawberry
And
you've
it's
ever seen in your
minuscule,
life.
right?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was the size of a nickel.
Because you have to spray them with so much cow
Yeah,
shit.
you do. You have to spray with
Yeah.
so much chemical.
I mean, honestly, I'm not gonna bitch about vegans right now, but I want to.
Don't do it.
I want to.
do it.
I want to so bad. You like your strawberries? You also like cow shit.
Delicious cow shit.
You need cow shit to make strawberries. You need cow shit to make all vegetables. That's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
And
Or
there-
chemicals. If you're eating organic.
See what we were
vegetables-
talking about? Don't know how to end the show?
Yeah.
There it
If
is.
you're eating organic vegetables and you're a vegan, you're eating cow shit. You're supporting the factory farm industry. Sorry. You just are.
That's another conversation.
But it's true.
And a knife fight, I think.
Sure.
That starts
I'll have
a
a
knife
knife
fight.
fight with Kathleen. It'll
No,
be
you
fine.
you can use neem oil for pesticides. There's a way to do.
No, it's about the nitrogen.
Oh, for the nitrogen.
Yeah, that's
There's
the
still
whole
some
thing.
clever ways to do it than like
They're not
the
doing
Three
that, though.
Sisters
But
and
they're
all
not.
that. You know.
They're not doing that. They're just not.
No, they're not. I agree.
Tiny
Yeah.
moving parts.
Mhm.
That's what we've learned. All right. until next week. Thanks.
Guten Tag.
Yeah. It's be good Nacht.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, Guten Tag is good afternoon or good day or
Yeah.
something.
Or
like
Guten Morgen is good morning. Guten Tag is
Tag
good
is-
day, and then Guten Nacht is
Good night.
good night.
All right.
So, auf Wiedersehen. Ha ha.